Hi, everyone, and welcome into episode 3 of Gridiron Dynasty, a fantasy football podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tim, joined by, as you can tell, more than just me and Pat this time. Pat, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So if you're wondering who are all these other people in here, tonight we are picking our draft order for our Dynasty League that we're starting up, the Superflex League. So we invited some of the league mates to come and join us for this episode of the podcast so we can get their live reaction to their draft pick and stuff like that. So we're going to go around and we're going to introduce ourselves. So based on how my screen is set up, Michael Merrill, you'll be the first person. So just tell us who you are, how you like fantasy football, how long you've been doing it, yada, yada, yada.
Hey guys, Mike Merrill. Everyone calls me by my last name, Merrill. Been in fantasy leagues for probably 5 or 6 years. Thanks to Pat and Tim for helping me out a lot. Made stupid trades, make the best out of it when I can. But overall, it's going to be a different league for me, so I can't wait to try it.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Sutz, you're up next.
Hey guys, I'm Matt Sutz. I also go by Sutz, and I have the luxury of being a Jets fan, so I get to avoid that conundrum where you don't get to pick any of your players in fantasy, and then it just works out for the best.
It's nice when you have to do that.
Takes the pressure off for sure.
Yeah, it gives me a reason to focus on fantasy instead of the Jets. All right, Drew.
Hi, my name's Andrew or Drew or Sorgenti. I've been doing fantasy for about 10 years. Do it with these guys for football. Also run a baseball league with them. So hopefully start this league off as well as I started the other one, and hopefully don't plummet down to last like I did in the other one. So
That would ruin the pattern.
Yeah, I like the pattern.
Let's break the pattern.
I just realized we don't call ourselves by our first names very often, do we?
I was thinking that on the second person who went. I was like, we just all use last names. Okay.
Yeah, we're
Some of them made up last names. We just kind of run with it.
Yeah. So this should be it for the people joining us tonight. People might join in the middle of it. Who knows? Could be a shit show. Who cares? All right, so we're going to...
Something we do would be a shit show. That'd be different.
Yeah, right? Hey, I recorded this time, Pat. I keep looking over to check myself. And make sure. Yeah, no, thank you, Merrill. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get right down to it. So we're going to pick the draft order now. So how we're doing it is Pat has a lovely Rams helmet that has all of the league members' names in it. So what he'll do is he'll pull out a name. He'll pull out all 12 names. So then he'll put those in order like that. That's not the draft order because then I got my little bucket of numbers. So then I'm going to pick the bucket of numbers one at a time. So let's say Sutz's name gets picked out first. Doesn't mean he gets the first overall pick. I pick out a number and it says number 12. Guess what? He's got pick 12. So that's how we're going to do it. Get right into it. So how do you want to do this, Pat? Do you want to do name, number?
Yeah, we'll do one. We'll do one. I can pick out the name, and then you can tell them what number they're going to be.
I feel like Vanna White.
Let's get down that. Do you flipping over vowels?
Yeah.
I don't think that's how this works.
Yeah, it's fine.
Doesn't Pat Sajak say how many there are? I don't think this makes any sense.
You don't make
All
any
right,
sense.
well, we're going to start off with the man upstairs, Mr. Michael McCarron.
And he will have pick number 11.
11.
Pat, you're writing these down, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I am.
Because I'm not.
By last name, because that's all we got.
Well, you got to be careful of those two Murrays.
Whatever. You guys can figure it out later on.
Just put Ginger next to his.
That's much different than you, who's also ginger.
I'm half ginger. Thank you very much.
I saw your beard last week. You're not half anything right now. Up next, Mr. Bad Trade himself, Matt Berman.
Oh.
Hey.
All right.
Bad trade. What is that about?
He offers the worst trades possible.
Just
You'll
wait
find
till you're
out.
in a fantasy football league with him. You won't have to ask that question anymore.
And he is at pick number 6.
Dead smack in the middle. Exactly where you absolutely do not want to be in this league whatsoever.
Nope.
Fantastic.
That sucks. I'm glad it's off the board and went to Berman.
Number 3, Mr. Ricky Callen.
Ooh, Ricardo Montalban.
Who doesn't go by his last name. We found one.
Yeah, wow, we did. Oh, and winner, Mahomes dinner.
Number 1 overall. Oof. A lot of mock drafts going to figure out who you're going to take at 1 overall.
He'll still probably take like Christian. Knowing Ricky, he'll probably take like Tim Tebow.
Hey, he could come back. Tight ends are popular in Superflex leagues. Up next, our host, Tim Murray.
Hold on, where's the number I want? Just kidding.
You put that on the side, right? You got my number next to that?
Yeah.
Okay, making sure I'm on the side.
3.
Number 3.
3. All right.
Oof.
I mean, I get one of the top 3 quarterbacks or Christian McCaffrey. I'm not mad about it. It's just
that's exactly where we talked about you being earlier when we said this would be an interesting place for you to be.
I can't wait to mock
Sounds
this.
Suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
Up next.
Don't be suspicious.
Uh-oh. We finally have someone else who's here.
Oh, Mr. Sutz. Let's see.
Let's see if all his mock drafting comes in handy right now.
I think this is my first time. I think it's my first time being in a league with Sutz. Oh, Sutz. Oh, pick number 8.
8. Okay.
It's not terrible. It certainly
things can
6.
happen at 8.
Yeah, like you can pick a date.
Okay.
King's rules.
Not bad. I said not bad. I gave you some credit. That's all you're getting right now after you made that Rams joke earlier.
I made a Stafford joke, not a Rams joke.
He's on the Rams now.
So?
Next up, another person who's here. Mr. Merrill.
Merrill, do you want to trade picks?
He trades everything else with you. Why wouldn't he trade this?
7. 7. You're right behind Berman. You're sandwiched in between both Matts. Congratulations.
Right behind Berman. Oh, boy. Be careful back there. It's a dangerous place to be in.
Mm-hmm. I know. I got hibachi with him the other day.
What? Give me a spot.
Give you a spot. What number did you want, Pat?
I wanted 10.
You wanted 10? Well, that's not there anymore.
I did.
4. You're picking
4.
right after me.
Okay.
Cool.
Yay.
I'll make sure to take Josh Allen right in front of you.
Oh, right before you. Just wait. Wait till it comes around.
You know what's going to happen?
What comes around goes around.
My brother's going to be right in front of me.
Well, it's Rory, but actually Megan O'Connor.
Oh, okay. And 9.
9.
9.
Is he German now?
9.
Wait a minute. Did you say 10 was gone? Because I don't have 10 written down, so
Listen,
I hope you were wrong. Because
otherwise
I f***ed up everyone.
I was wrong. I realized it right after I said it.
Hey, and rounding out the crew that is here, Mr. Sorgenti.
Let's see. Oh, look at that. 10.
Hey, there's the number we all thought we're gonna. Hey, Sorgenti, I'll trade picks with you. Keep that on mind. No, you want 4. You said you wanted to go early. I heard you say it earlier. Can't lie to me now. What do we got? Hey,
so what?
Your brother.
So we got what? 2, 5, 12. Those are the 3 that are left.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, let's see. Matt Murray, you are picking at. Dude, I'm a freaking psychic.
2. What a sandwich to be in here. Oh boy. 2, 3, 4. It's gonna be a moment.
Here, we almost got
Next to last.
We almost got an offensive line in the front.
We
of the
have
draft.
Alex.
Ooh, Alex.
I don't know what he goes by. I've never talked to him. So.
It's Alex.
That's okay.
5.
5. Well, that narrows down.
Well,
Pick
that leaves
number 12.
For Sean.
Flip it open. That way we can confirm and confirm.
Sean.
I have Sean. And you have number 12, but you're pretending you don't because I can see through the paper that you have written there.
Oh, crap. You're right. Hey, it's 12.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. It's backwards. See? 12. Okay.
It's the only one left. All right. We have our numbers. I don't like mine. We're going to pick this again. I'm glad we had that demo run while Tim messed up the recording.
Oh, yeah. The audio's out.
Oh, no. Bummer.
Oh, no. Pat, look at that. I picked number 12.
Oh, my God. Give me
right.
10. Give me 10.
So, all jokes aside, Pat, give us the rundown.
All right. So we have number 1 overall, we have Ricky. Mm-hmm. And then at 2, we have Matt Murray. Mm-hmm. 3, Tim Murray. Mm-hmm. 4, myself. Mm-hmm. 5, we're going to have Alex Mazzola. 6, we have Berman. 7, Merrill. 8, we have Matt Sutz. 9, Rory and Megan O'Connor. 10, Sorgenti. 11, Michael McCarron. And 12, Sean Kurtz. Okay. That is your draft order for our draft on Wednesday,
the
August 25th
at 8
p.m.
Right.
Eastern time, Matthew. Eastern time.
Right. So
not Mountain, Central,
I was on
West,
time this time, all right.
Leftern, left out. I don't know where you are anymore, Colorado, but I don't know what time they tell. So I don't even know if they tell time out there. Do y'all just like smoke enough weed and be like, it's that time?
Essentially, it's light or dark.
Okay.
Out.
Yeah, they blow the smoke up in the air, whatever it forms. That's what time it is.
That
looks like a 4.
6:15.
Okay, so how you guys feeling about your spots?
I like the back half of the draft. I like being late and then getting the quick second round pick on the way back.
Yeah,
Plus
I will trade. I will trade with any of you.
Considering Pat wanted 10, I'm okay being 10.
I will trade with anyone in this room except for Tim right now. Actually, Tim, I'll even trade with you.
No.
Because I said anyone, and I got to stick with it.
No, I really hope Josh Allen falls to me. I just take him right in front of you.
That's okay. I'll just take Kyler Murray.
Who's picking?
Unless, of course, it goes 3 straight quarterbacks.
Hold on.
With
well, I'm
Ricky,
just trying to figure out in my head right now.
Ricky, you and your brother.
No, so Ricky's picking at 1. He's probably going to take Mahomes. My brother at 2, he'll probably take Gronk.
You're still on that.
I am.
He's not going to be happy when he hears this.
He texted me because he watched last week's episode. He goes, "Just so you know, I got Justin Jefferson as a steal in the second round." I'm like, you still took Gronk in the first round of a rookie draft.
He put that as a comment on the video.
He did put it as a comment. He didn't text you.
He texted me too.
Oh, he wanted to double make sure. He wanted to
he was
and then
salty on that.
Yeah, he was very salty.
Cover all your bases.
Yeah. No, but he'll probably take Josh Allen at 2, which means I have a decision at 3.
I'm wondering what
I'm gonna have to mock a lot at 10 to figure out what I want to do in the second and third round for that.
Yeah. Also, they're not a sponsor, but definitely use Sleeper for the mocks because, like I said, you can format the league to fit our league. So you can set it up as a 10 team, Dynasty, Superflex, and it'll set the rankings up that way. So you'll see Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray at top, and then you'll see guys like Ben Roethlisberger towards the bottom.
But seriously, does anyone want to pick 4? Still petitioning.
Why don't you just post it in the Facebook group and see what happens?
Still will trade. Well, I really want the people who are sitting right here because they have the numbers I want.
You want
7, 8, and 10 right here.
You want me to go grab
7, 8, and 10.
You want me, Karen?
You want 8?
Was he 9?
You're not 8.
No, he's 11. I don't want 11. Yeah.
I'm 8.
Merrill wants to move up to 4. Merrill wants to find
with that.
anywhere where he can't make a mistake. And 4 is like whatever fell into your lap kind of spot.
Yeah, it's
which is awesome about 4.
Drafts.
It's either Kylie or CMC at Kyler.
Exactly. It's Murray or CMC. It's whoever falls into your lap at 4.
I'll take either of
those. 4, you click the top button, you go with it. So that's one of the good parts about 4, and it's one of the bad parts about 4.
Yeah, and then it's Alex at 5 has the. Do you keep going with the QB's move or do you take another running back?
You can't go QB at 5.
I think you can go Dak at 5.
You can't put Dak up to 5.
Yeah.
Not coming off an injury at 28. You can't do that. I know he just signed his contract, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dude, it's the job
when
security.
you got Dalvin, because Dalvin's gonna be sitting there.
I know.
Dalvin and Kamara, you're gonna have both of them sitting there staring you in the face.
I mean, I have Dalvin there at 5, but I'd have a decision.
That's where I have Dalvin right now.
I'd have a decision to make between Dalvin, Dak, and Lamar. To be perfectly honest with you,
that's way too high for.
Well, Lamar's got that floor for his running game, and
Right.
Dak has insane weapons.
I get Lamar more than I get Dak.
Dak has the best weapons besides Patrick Mahomes with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper.
I agree with you, but that's how long before that defense finally gets a little bit better? How long before they actually have to run the ball with Ezekiel? At some point they're going to have to have a running game.
It's Jerry's world. He likes to have fun.
Yeah, Dallas also did use all of their picks on defense. So they're bound to hit on something.
Well, they took the best defensive player in the draft. So
yeah, they can't play every game at 50 to 49 this year. So
No.
Speaking of Dallas, you guys been watching Hard Knocks?
No.
Literally never.
I've been working. Anyone, Dallas.
I wouldn't watch it if I wasn't working, and I am working, but I wouldn't watch it if I wasn't.
Not worth it.
And I didn't watch it when the Rams were on it, so
I
think getting changed now.
I like it. I mean, I don't mind watching the Cowboys.
Do I have to put a preseason trade up for approval from the league if I trade with Merrill for draft picks?
I'll trade with you.
I need to know
that. I'll trade
because I'll move back to 7.
So, what did we decide on waivers? We're doing standard, right?
We did decide on standard
Is that
because that's what everyone voted for.
Yeah.
Well, it had 6 votes, and the second place was Yankees. So Since they didn't have an option for Yankees on the thing, I just moved up to our number 1 option because the number 3 option only had 1 vote. So I think free agent budget for Dynasty probably is a good thing to do. But if so many people don't understand it very early on, that's why I wanted to limit the amount of keepers the first year and make them very specific, because I want to make sure that I know teams are going to be able to stack their team during the year. I want to make sure they have to move something at the end of it.
Right.
I'm looking at you, Tim.
It keeps players moving throughout the league. I completely get it. It keeps players moving and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't want someone having 4 quarterbacks on their team and then it just turns into something it doesn't need to turn into.
Yeah, I voted for the standard, even though I am a fan of switching up the waiver thing. I just don't want to do it in the first year, just so because the Superflex is already going to be adding an additional kind of level to this. So if we can keep kind of one little thing normal first, and then once everyone gets used to the Superflex kind of idea, then we can move.
Yeah.
The reason I like the continual option and the continual one, which is we're trying in Cash's league. Basically, let's say you have the number 1 waiver pickup week 1, and the top 4 people make a waiver pickup, and the person in 5th doesn't. The person in 5th moves up to 1st next week, and the people who picked up waiver people move to the back of the list. So it's not the same people getting it over and over and over again, which in the beginning, especially the first year, maybe that makes sense, because if you really had a bad draft or you got really unlucky and everyone got hurt, it's nice to be able to pick up people every week and make something out of it. But 9 times out of 10, what you'll notice is the person picking first every week just keeps picking first every week because their team isn't getting any better.
Yep.
They're not making the trades they need to make. They're not picking up the right person. They're still looking for the same thing they look for in the draft, and it's not working now. So you'll notice a lot of times the people who pick 1st to 3rd will probably pick 1st to 3rd most of the year. It's very rare that you get that one person off waivers and make a giant jump in the standings. You're usually in last place because your team sucks or your team got hurt. Let me not judge you based off of your team sucking. If your top quarterback and your top wide receiver go down in the first week, probably going to pick at the bottom of the order for the rest of the year.
Right, and then you have like people like James Robinson last year where they ball out week 1 and that's the impact player for the rest of the year. And then that's pretty much it. We didn't really have another impact player come off waivers last year. Especially
so you're saying that if you lose all your running backs and you end up with Philip Lindsay as your only running back to start a season, you're probably screwed?
You could recover from that. Philip Lindsay, that's good for like 2 quarterbacks if you trade.
I didn't recover from that. I didn't.
Oh.
No, you did not.
How odd.
Yeah.
Can't believe that didn't happen for you like that.
So, I'm obviously in a dynasty league with Drew, Merrill, and Pat. Sutz, are you in dynasty leagues, or is this your first one?
This is my first dynasty league.
Are you excited?
Yeah, it's pretty different, and I've heard of dynasty leagues, and I know pretty much how they work. But it'll be interesting to have like a running team year to year, and just trying to build off of what you've had.
Yeah, I can't go back to redraft. It's just I don't like redraft anymore. I just like the whole idea of being able to build my roster, because in the one league that Pat and I are in with Pat Cash, I had a bottom team for like the first 2 years, and then the past 2 years I was in the championship game, because that's the whole thing with Dynasty. You got to build the team up and all that stuff. So I like that concept of it, instead of just washing out your entire roster and starting anew next year. And being able to trade draft picks is fun.
And in these leagues, Dynasty, there are some teams you don't want to get rid of. Like, Tim, your team is stacked. Pat had a good team. Andrew, you were stacked. Rory had a good team, especially baseball too. Would you want to give up your fantasy team baseball-wise, Andrew?
No.
Exactly.
Too bad. Redraft time.
No.
Yeah, no.
I'm glad we started this fresh, because I feel like the only other opportunities I've had to get in were to get somebody else's team who had left. I'm like, I don't want to pick up their trash team that they didn't give a shit about,
Right.
Yeah, if they don't want it, it's usually for a reason.
Yeah.
But
the hardest part of Dynasty football is that it is very hard to build if you have a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find the right trades. You have to make those 2 or 3 waiver pickups. And if your team's that bad, you have to turn those 2 or 3 waiver pickups into players and picks for next year. You can't just get harped on having the best pickup on waivers, because if that's the best thing that's happening to your team, you're not going very far.
Right.
If you can take that number one pick, especially later on in the season, when teams are gearing up for the playoffs, because as we don't have a trade deadline here, which is very different than other leagues. You can trade at any point. And the point of that is teams that are fighting for that championship, if you have a player who is not normally a starter, Alexander Madison comes up a lot in my head when I think about that, because Dalvin Cook got hurt 2 years in a row going into the fantasy playoffs. And he was a big waiver wire pickup for people who didn't have him on their roster, and most people didn't. And you can flip him to a team that's going for that championship game. And you can get maybe a player who dropped to injury reserve, or maybe a player who's just not quite having the year he's supposed to, but he's going to a different team next year. Or you can find ways to flip late season acquisitions, but you can't just take them and then leave them there. So if you pick someone up the last week of the season and you're not going into the playoffs, you need to get rid of him and turn him into something else. And that's the biggest difference between dynasty leagues and regular leagues, is that you are making moves all year long. You're looking for that one player who on your roster probably next year not going to be a top 20 player. But right now, next week, it's going to be in the top 12 because you'll get people willing to pay for that. And that's a big difference between different leagues.
Yeah. The 1 year that the year that Green Bay drafted Jones and Williams, no one drafted Jones in our league. I actually got him off waivers, which was shocking. So
nobody knew who was going to be the running back there. So
I got lucky.
Yeah, it worked out for you. 2 years
and
ago.
then I took him from you and gave you someone else, and that's pretty much what you did that year.
You did.
You weren't going to make the playoffs. You had Williams and you had Jones, and you flipped them both, and then you ended up getting them both back. So I mean, that's you got to make those moves at the end of the year, and that's something that a lot of times at the end of the year in a regular redraft league, you're in the next to last week, you're 5 spots out of a playoff, your team's done. You've stopped setting your lineup. You've left it alone. It means nothing to you. And you can't do that in Dynasty, which was something that I actually wanted to bring up while I had some people here. I was thinking for number 1 overall pick that we do some sort of lottery system instead of just giving the number 1 overall pick to the worst team. Something that's more weighted. Something that's more weighted towards the last place team, like they get 8 entries in the thing, and the next person gets 6 or 5, and then 4, 3, 2,
almost
1.
like the way basketball does the ping pong lottery.
Yeah.
Right.
Hockey
you have
too,
have
right?
a better. Yeah, almost everyone does that. You
Yeah.
have a better chance the worse you are, the better chance you have of your name coming up first.
So
Just something that you don't tank.
Yeah, so
there's no real way to
hate
guarantee
tankers.
no one tanks.
yeah,
We've tried to do point adjustments. We've tried to do everything. People don't set their lineups. They don't do what they're supposed to do. They tank.
That was Rory's name.
So
yeah.
the lottery system, you still have the best odds of getting it because your team's probably not very good or they were all hurt. But if your team was all hurt, that means next year they're coming back stronger, and now you have a top overall pick also. So the lottery system kind of gives the opportunity to everyone who missed the playoffs. Anyone who makes the playoffs gets their position when they finish.
Okay,
Those
that's
teams
what I was
get
going to ask.
only the bottom 6 would go into the lottery, and it would be something like the worst team gets 8 names in the hat, and then the next one gets 6, and then you do 4, 3, 2, 1. So the bottom 2 teams have the best chance of the number 1 overall pick. Something that just changes the optics of the number 1 overall pick.
It would definitely. I mean, I'm okay putting up to that for a vote. Like, I'm okay with that. The drawing of that might be an issue because, like, you put 10 names in the hat. If you pull out that person's name, then you have to figure out how to get their other 9 names out of the hat.
You just keep picking. If it's the same person, you throw it away.
There's also
You pick until you pick everyone.
Yeah, no,
That's-
there's like Sutz said, you could do like a wheel, and you have everyone.
Oh, you do have one?
Yeah, spin wheel type
And
thing.
then if it lands on that person's name, you just delete that person's name out from all the other spaces, and then it shrinks, and then you just keep going that way. That's one way of doing it. But the only issue I have with that is, to me, it devalues the value of a draft pick in the middle of a season trading wise, because you don't know where that person's gonna be. If by like week 7, I have a rough idea of where the draft picks are going to be. But if 1 through 6 is more of a fluid situation where the team that's like 0-6 or 0-7 at that point is not necessarily going to be the number one overall pick, I think it changes the value on their pick at the time. But once we set the order, then the value obviously goes back to the way it was. It's just during the season, it might change the value of a draft pick.
It will definitely change the value of a draft pick.
That's the roll of the dice, though.
I'm not against it. I'm just
where you're saying you have a general idea.
Well,
you have a general idea this way also. If you're in last place, you're probably going to get a bottom 3 pick. And if you're in last place, you're probably thinking, I'm going to get a top 3 pick out of this. You're in the same mindset going into
that makes it more realistic to what actual sports trade is, because when you trade for, the Islanders' first round pick, like, you don't know what when they weren't making the playoffs, you didn't know what their pick was going to be. Like, so when actual teams make trades for picks, you don't really know what those picks are going to be to begin with too.
Yeah, no, I'm not against this at all. Just bringing up a counterpoint, devil's advocate, if you will.
Well, as long as you vote for this, I mean, that's the best way to do it, because people are not on this right now. They start to make their vote too. So.
Oh yeah, no, we would definitely put up for a vote. It's just something that's been going through my head, or something that's going to come up for a vote.
No, they're not here. They don't get a vote.
Okay, frick them. I just want to try to get everything done before the draft.
Right.
Throwing out new rules after a draft is dumb, and I don't care what anyone says. If you're making a rule in week 7, someone's benefiting from that rule. Someone's already traded a draft pick, and it's already going to be a benefit to one team, and one team's going to say no because they wanted that number 1 overall pick, and now they're like, well, no, I don't know what pick it is.
Right.
If you know going into that trade that you don't know what pick it is, at least you're aware of the situation. So it's definitely going to come up before everything. It's just something that I wanted to throw out to get small groups' opinions on.
So one thing I wanted to bring up, I know the NFL has changed their COVID-19 policies and stuff like that. If it comes out where there's a new breakout that happens and the season has some sort of like cancellation for games like that, in my league where I'm a commissioner and I just play it by ear with whatever Yahoo comes up with their settings. That's what I go with. I don't try to change it around or anything like that. Yahoo says they don't play the game this week, don't play their players. You play their players, you get 0 points. I know in Pat's league you have it where you can put the player in your lineup, and if they don't wind up playing, you get the highest scoring possibility put into your lineup for them, right?
Yes, whoever was projected for the most points in the position that you left them in. So if you leave them at wide receiver, you get your top projected wide receiver. If you put them in your flex, you get your top player overall in this case, because your super flex could fit anyone, or if your flex spot anyone but a quarterback. But
I don't like that rule.
Which part?
The where you get the most projected.
Well, no, you don't get their projected points. Like, let's say you had on your bench, like, let's say A.J. Brown's missing a game, right? And you had him in your wide receiver spot. And then you had on your bench Deontay Johnson and Marquise Brown. Deontay Johnson's projected for 15 points. Marquise Brown's projected for 11. Deontay Johnson only scores you 8. Marquise Brown would have scored got 22 points, something like that. You're only getting Deontay Johnson's 8.
Okay.
So it's not like
it's what you get.
Yeah, no,
it's a sub. Yeah, you get their actual points. You don't get their projected points. You get their actual points. You just, if in the case of the fact that the game is canceled, you would get the top projected person. We also had it where you could name your replacement, but that gets a little murky and everything. So we did a very simple, if your player misses a game, if your game is canceled due to COVID, or if your player is forced to miss the game because of a COVID test prior to the game, and you couldn't make a substitution, that was an important aspect of this too, and you couldn't make a substitution. So let's say it was the Monday night game, and there was no game after that, and your player an hour before kickoff is told he can't play, and you have no one to sub him out for, then you would get your number 1 projected person in that spot.
Which means you could get
basically it's just
you could still get a
default
0
player.
Yeah, it's just not.
You could still get nothing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no guarantee to the amount of points you get. It was just a substitution of your highest projected player as just a fail-safe, because there's so many questions regarding COVID tests and the way that they were rescheduling games. They were playing games on Wednesdays. Like, you can't plan for a Wednesday game. You can't, and the teams that were playing Wednesday games had 5 fantasy players in them. You can't plan if that game gets canceled. You're like, my team.
Yeah, it's like
that one time Baltimore had the positive test, and Lamar Jackson missed a game, and their 3 wide receivers missed a game, and their 2 running backs, Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, were all out. Everyone missed a game, and they played it on Wednesday against the Steelers. And it was like, well, who do I sub in?
Exactly.
There's no one to sub in.
It's like when the Broncos had to start their kick returner at quarterback.
Yeah, you got no quarterback. So it was only if you couldn't make a sub. So if a Sunday 1 p.m. game gets canceled, you have your whole damn lineup. Go sub them out.
Exactly.
We're not giving you any projected anything. If you forget to make a change at that point, that's on you. So if it was before game times, that was on you. But if it was like an hour before the Sunday night game kicked off, and you had no one for Monday night, and you had no one left in your lineup, and you could do nothing, and most times you can still do something because your IR spot holds COVID.
Yep.
So you could move your player to COVID and then add someone who was playing Sunday or Monday. And a lot of times that's what people did anyway. It was just a fail-safe in case a game was canceled last minute. And we never used it.
Do they have to be on the COVID list for like X amount of time once you put them on there?
Oh.
You can take them right out.
Yeah, they can take them right out. Okay. You can get a positive test and a negative test the next day, and you're removed from the COVID list. So there's just too many questions regarding that. Mm-hmm. I would say something's going to have to be in place again.
For the amount
from everything the NFL sounds like, I know that they sound like they're all getting vaccinated, but there's no guarantee they're going to play week to week. There's no guarantee. Now you got an extra week to worry about. So there's going to be some sort of contingency plan that we're going to put in. There's something else that'll come up to a vote. There's going to be a lot of these things coming up. I would say more than likely it will be a substitution of your number 1 projected player who will receive his actual fantasy points for that week.
Right. And I know
if there's no way you can make a change.
Yeah. As far as the IR spots go, in my league last year, what we did was we had 4 IR spots. 1 was a designated spot for a COVID-19 related injury. If you put someone in that, I can't differentiate that physically in the league, but let's say Pat has 3 guys on IR, and then he has a guy that tests positive for COVID. That guy would slide into that 4th spot. But Pat already has 3 guys on IR, and someone goes down to a knee injury. He can't put that person in his IR slot. That 4th spot has to be just for COVID-19. And if you put someone in there, whatever person you picked up, because of that, I went in and I dropped that player from your team. So I don't know if that's something we're going to explore in this league too. Well, I guess we're going to find out when we get closer to the season, because there have been cases during camp right now. What was it? Kirk Cousins and the whole quarterback room from Minnesota missed the beginning of training camp because they all tested positive. The Dolphins tight ends missed it beginning of training camp because they all got COVID. So it's going to happen. What was the team that's at 100%? Is it the Cardinals?
Falcons.
So they're moving in the right direction of getting everyone vaccinated. I'm not saying political preference for vaccinations.
This isn't a conversation about vaccination. This is a conversation about the NFL.
Yeah. So they're moving in the direction that the NFL wants them to move into, is what I'll say. So hopefully we don't have the instances like we did last year where the Titans had 2 games canceled because of COVID.
The Ravens had 2 games postponed. The Titans played everything, but they had 1 game where everyone missed it. Oh no, that was the Bills.
Because your team name is Titans 0 COVID-19.
That's right. The Titans had 23 on COVID. Yeah, because I named my team after that. I actually named every one of my fantasy teams after a different team that went down, so I could tell you every team that had a COVID problem last year. I just have to look through my team names.
Except for all the teams on Yahoo.
Titans 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Titans had 23 players test positive.
Unless it's on Yahoo. There you go. Pat's names on Yahoo is Why Sucks or Why Still Sucks or Watch This Team Sucks or Watch This Team Suck.
It's a lot of sucking on Yahoo.
Well, it's a lot of sucking from you.
Hey, well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So Andrew Sorgenti, picking at 10, has never mock draft for a Superflex league. What do you think is going to fall to you at that point? Let's have some fun with this.
I like that question.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen at 10?
Best case scenario, worst case scenario. Give us both options. Like, what are you hoping for, and what do you not want to happen, but can,
assuming Gronk is off the board.
Yeah, assuming Gronkowski gets drafted at number 2. Yeah.
That Gronk is off the board. We already know that.
Did he freeze? Or is he just making that face still?
He might.
I think we lost Drew.
Froze.
Okay, I think
he panicked.
He panicked. He's permanently frozen like this.
That's a panic face.
Someone call his wife to throw water on his face.
You ask him one question, he just loses it.
Wow, that was a really tough question, guys.
I didn't know
Pat, this is just a podcast, all right? Stop grilling the guy.
I won't ask anyone else any questions.
All right, well, no, seeing as Drew is...
Can you kick him out and make him come back in?
Let's see if I... Oh, wait.
There
he goes. Now he's
maybe.
just an A.
Okay.
Should I remove him?
The big A. Well, it's the little A.
That means Aaron Rodgers has his pick.
All right, so then, Merrill, you're picking at
4.
Are we trading, Pat?
Do you want to trade?
Well, hold on, guys.
I'm
Are you
okay
trading
with
your
that.
entire draft, or what? Are you just trading in the first round?
You can't trade one pick.
No, that's
Can't
what I was
trade
going to
one
say.
You cannot trade one pick. You have to trade
just
full
trade
draft.
first round,
Must be
really?
4 the whole time?
No, because I can't do any actual trades in Yahoo.
Yeah, but you can just say
Pre-draft.
you pick for me and I'll pick for you. No?
It gets way too damn complicated. We're not doing that. You cannot trade individual picks in Yahoo before the original draft. So it's all or nothing. And that's understood going into it. I will let Tim decide if he wants the league to allow vetoes on pre-draft trades. As everyone knows, I do not. I never have.
It's a pre-draft trade. There's absolutely no way you can swindle someone in a pre-draft trade.
Right.
If you want a spot, Pat, I'm okay switching 8 and 4.
Cool.
The whole draft. I'm okay with that.
You're 7.
You're at 7, not at 8.
What? I thought it was 8.
No, Sutz is at 8.
Sutz is 8.
Oh, yeah.
I have it written down in front of me. I have it. I cheated. I have a list. I know I wrote it down. I also put little stars next to my name and Merrill's name because I was really hoping he'd trade with me. So there's
Well, yeah, I can trade with you, Pat. I can't trade with Tim.
stars.
This is a new league.
Have you seen my team name for this league?
That doesn't mean anything.
All right.
Team name.
I can share my screen on this, right? Can
Yes.
I do that?
Yeah.
Present mode, right?
Present mode.
All right. A window.
Who's
How
that?
does this work?
Pat, who's
A
at 9?
window. What do I want to do here? Okay.
Oh,
So, little help for you.
okay. Pat, who's it picking at 9 again?
Who is picking at 9? Rory is picking at 9.
Rory. Got it.
Can you guys see that clearly, or is it
Yes.
just me?
Yeah.
You're good.
Oh,
Okay.
we're good.
So that is just made up rankings essentially.
Why is
from
CMC up?
Fantasy
at number
Pros.
1?
Because CMC is the highest rated fantasy football player that there is. These are Superflex rankings, and they
Really?
are for Dynasty rankings. They are specifically for our league, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So they take the point system that we put in, and it automatically ranks where they would have them based off of amount of points scored, age, all those factors put in. They do take all that into account based off of a set number of experts that I choose from, which I don't. I just hit random because I don't fucking know any of them. I'm just not gonna lie to you. So they're all randomly put in there. It's just 26 random experts. I don't know who they are. But it basically takes all their rankings and combines them based off of the parameters set by our league. Hey, we got another one.
Mr.
JETS.
Pick number 5 himself.
Alex, you picked 5th, by the way.
Pick
Welcome
number
to-
5.
This was
Welcome to the
rigged.
party.
I demand a recount.
No.
I'm in for the recount.
This is actually
No!
the third one we've done.
We're not. No, yeah, we're not doing a
Yo,
recount.
Andrew, could you stop leaving?
I had to fix my mic.
Oh,
Man, I asked him one tough question. He's left 4 times.
my mic's
All right.
upstairs.
I really didn't
So-
want to
Hasn't
answer it.
answered yet, has he?
Alex, since you are here now, we've done the draft order. We've done some back and forth. Our question posed right now is to Andrew, who's picking at 10th. And we're looking for, based off of just general rankings, obviously we don't know who's going to pick what. Best case scenario, worst case scenario for what you'd be looking at your first pick at number 10. What we have up here is rankings from Fantasy Pros, which takes our league and the point system we use, Dynasty and Superflex both, and throws it into a formula with 26 random experts, and it combines their rankings to form the list you see in front of you.
Wow.
So, yes, it's one of the few reasons that I actually pay for a service is because they do exactly what I tell them to do, which never happens nowadays.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
Because I'm married with 2 children, so nothing I say ever goes. It's almost every time it's the opposite. So this does that. So if you are picking at 10, current 10 projection is Tyreek Hill. Will Tyreek Hill be there? Maybe. We don't really know. Based off of who I see in front of you, and I'll just give my little tidbit before you go. If I had to guess with Lamar Jackson at 11, I don't think he'll be there still. I do think he would go to someone a little higher than that. You have Sutz and you have Rory in front of you, and I do think he would be gone. Now, granted, what that does is it moves the rest of the list down a little bit, and that's a big factor because now you've moved Alvin Kamara, who's ranked 9, back down the list a little bit. You have Berman at 6, and if you see number 6 on that list, it's going to stare Berman straight in the face.
So
I know it's going to stare Berman straight in the face.
Right. A little fact about Berman: he's a big Giants fan. For those of you at home,
huge
and
Giants fan.
And when they pick Saquon Barkley, when they pick Saquon Barkley, he is holding
through his child.
He's holding his child who was born October the year before the draft. So she's a few months old at the time. He's holding her. She's all happy. She's smiling. They take Saquon Barkley. He yells yes in her face and makes her start crying. So that's how hyped he was for Saquon Barkley. He's going to be staring Saquon Barkley in the face at 6 because there's no way anyone's taking Saquon Barkley 1 through 5 unless Alex decides to go off the rails and pick him at 5, which he's not going to because I know how Alex drafts. So I know who Alex is. I know who most of you. The only person I don't know their strategy is Sutz. You're my wild card right now. You're the full blown wild card in this league for me.
Drafting all Jets.
I know. Well, you have to figure out that he's never played Dynasty before.
Yeah.
So that's a new little thing. And as much as you can mock draft and you can review and you could watch the podcast that we've gone through, it doesn't prepare you for being in a Dynasty league. So you're going to kind of lean towards Dynasty and you're going to do one of 2 things. And I can almost guarantee it right now. And it's going to be fun to talk about it afterwards. And we'll see if I was right. You're either going to overlean Dynasty and you're going to pick ahead some people that you really shouldn't. Mm-hmm. You're going to reach because you're going to be, oh, this guy's younger and I'm going to take him.
Yep.
Or you're going to go a lot more chalk based off of projections. And you're going to go with players that are a little bit older that are going to have good seasons this year, but maybe aren't built long-term. Mm-hmm. Most times your first draft doesn't fall in the happy zone. Mm-hmm. It falls on one of the 2. And you can fall on one of the 2. That's fine. It's the moves you make during the season, as we discussed earlier, that are going to make your team. But a lot of times when you're in your first one, you have a tendency to do the first thing I listed, and that's reach a little bit further than you should for younger players that you see on the list and go, oh,
yep.
Like when you're picking at 8 and you reach for Lamar Jackson. Is that a reach? Probably not. He's going to be the best quarterback on the board when you pick. Mm-hmm. He is very young. He is a very solid floor player. Mm-hmm. He's not going to hurt you. So is it a bad reach? No. But it's going to start the tone of you reaching for players that are a little bit younger and that fill in a specific spot. And what you do with your second and third pick are going to nail the thing home.
But there's one thing you're not taking into account.
Uh-oh.
I use performance-enhancing drugs. So
that's actually completely brought into account.
Yep. Actually, that's one of the things I do take into account with you, Sutz.
That was completely brought into account.
Is that part of the reaching you think?
And I was like, oh, yeah, I could totally take this dude. He's can nail it this year. So that actually was taken into account. So Andrew, you've had me go back and forth a little bit here. Give me knowing Lamar Jackson's off the board because he is. Knowing Dak Prescott's off the board because he is. Knowing Saquon's probably off the board. Knowing the top 4 players on that list are almost definitely off the board. Probably in the first 4 picks. It's going to be a who drop. Like I said to Merrill, it's going to be a who drops to 4. If you look at those top 4, it's going to be a who drops. The top 3 quarterbacks are going to go, and CMC is going to fall, or CMC is going to go in the top 3, and Kyler's going to fall. Then you got 5 where there's some questions. Do you want Dalvin? Do you want Taylor? Do you want Kamara? Are you reaching for a quarterback? Only person who can answer that is Alex and maybe Tim because he knows Alex. But at 10, what are we looking at?
Like you said, I don't think Lamar's there. I definitely would rather go QB, but there's a lot of wide receivers in that chunk. So I'm almost tempted to take Herbert a little bit in that spot if he's still sitting there. If Kamara drops, I'm taking him, but I don't think he's going to drop. So I'm almost tempted to reach for Herbert in that situation because I am picking again in 4 picks after that. So I can get another one of those good receivers after that, or if Nick Chubb is still there as well, I can get the RB1 off the board as well to get the high running back. So with that scenario, that might be where I end up going, just trying to reach a bit early for Herbert just to get one solid QB off the board, and then either go with wide receiver 1 or running back 1, depending on who's left 4 picks later.
And that, for everyone listening, is the impact of a Superflex league. Right there. Taking Justin Herbert, I think, is actually a very good pick because you're going to have 11 and a snake pick and then 11 again right there. And there's no way that 2 people who aren't going to pick again for 20 picks are going to sit there and look at the rest of the quarterbacks on the board and go, yeah, Russell Wilson.
Mr. Unlimited.
Joe Burrow reaching. Yeah, cool. Exactly. No, they're not going to do that. So that is actually a very smart move.
That's who I would
because
go
you are going to have it the other way around. There's only so many players that they can take in those 4 picks. And one of them is the quarterback. So making your pick at 10 a solid quarterback with a very nice future on a team that really should be better every year. Can't get worse, can they? I don't think so.
No.
I hope not. That's actually a really good call. I know you're going to mock it up. You're going to look at it. The rankings are going to shift between now and next week, even then, because you're going to have players that get hurt. You're going to have players that do anything. Will it affect the top 15 picks? Probably not. But you never know. We've seen players in the top go down. None of them play in preseason anymore, so they're going to have to go down and practice. But it's happened.
Yep.
But that's a nice place to reach at that first 10th pick.
Yeah, and when you if you pick Herbert at 10, what that does to 11, 12, 11 means they're most likely going to reach for a quarterback now also because you took the quarterback that should have fallen to them. So now they're going to reach and take a quarterback, make their team worse. So not only are you making your team better for the future, you're also hurting the teams behind you. And that's another key part of fantasy football is you want to do stuff that helps your team but makes other teams not as good as yours, in my opinion. So I'm okay with you doing that.
If you take Herbert in front and I'm 11 or 12, I'm just going to stack my team with the 2 best players available. And the reason for that is the next round of quarterbacks is so far away. They're all tier 2 quarterbacks now. They're not tier 1 quarterbacks. They're not even really tier 2 quarterbacks. They're on that fringe spot. They're on that, is Joe Burrow going to be that good again? Is Joe Burrow going to have the same Cincinnati offense? What is Russell Wilson? He's 32. He's on a team that doesn't like him. I don't know what he is. If I'm there, there's no reach for me. And that's okay. You still get the best quarterback there. That quarterback's going to go in that little 10, 11, 12 spot. Justin Herbert's going there. So if you're the one who wants him and you want that QB1 and you're going to take him, hit it.
He's not going to come back to you.
He's not going to come back to you. He was not. There's no way he should come back to you. So he's not. So 10 is the spot to take him. But if I'm sitting at 11 and 12, I'm taking the best wide receiver I can find and the best running back I can find, and I'm putting them both on my thing. And the thing about that and the thing about 11 and 12, as I look at the people who are going to draft.
That's what I'm saying.
11 and 12.
It's
the funniest thing
McCarron
about that
and Sean.
It's McCarron and Sean.
Mm-hmm.
They are not 2 people who are adept to trading. Not that they're not good at trading. They just don't do it. And the biggest part about picking best player available back-to-back at 11 and 12 is that at some point during the season, you have to be looking to flip one of them for a top quarterback. And they're not the people who will. So you got to see if they get the right quarterback later on, that's fantastic. But as you will notice, this is almost always going to be a 2-quarterback league. You're going to have people who play quarterback in Superflex almost every week. Occasionally, you'll have someone who's got 3 really great wide receivers. But they still don't put up quarterback points. So grabbing a quarterback there should mean that the next 2 people take best available, let them accumulate points in the beginning of the season, and then look to trade them. Trade one of them. Get a top quarterback. Get that player that's in that range. Do I think they'll do it? No. Do I think they'll take best available instead of a quarterback? Yes. And it's going to be very interesting to see how their teams fall for the rest of the draft, knowing that in the 3rd and 4th round, they have to take a quarterback. There will be no choice.
Mm-hmm.
There will be 15 quarterbacks gone.
Yeah, and then they'll be stuck with the quarterbacks.
You're going to have to take a quarterback.
Yeah, then they're going to be stuck with those quarterbacks. Like, is this guy going to be good for me as a quarterback 1? No.
Yeah, if you're coming,
Zach
where
Wilson.
we at here?
Let's go.
We take Kirk Cousins.
We're all the way down here when it comes back around to you.
Where's Zach?
Is Trevor Lawrence still there?
Where's Zach?
Maybe. Zach Wilson is probably lower than this.
Can you search for a player?
Yes. That's Russell Wilson. No, thank you. Zach Wilson. 69. Hey,
nice.
All right.
Nice.
Well done, Zach Wilson.
Where's Tim Tebow?
On a couch somewhere.
He's not on there.
No players found. My thing beeped at me angrily. So that's and
still trying to figure out how to block.
That's not a bad thing either. If you look at where McCarron and Schwelm will be, they'll be in rookie quarterback range. That's where they're going to fall when they make their first quarterback pick. And is that where you want to fall? Maybe. It's a dynasty league. Maybe Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence turn out to be quarterbacks 1 and 2 next year.
I hope
so. Yeah, you got to have high hopes when you pick 11 and 12 and you don't take a quarterback. So if you don't take one in the first 2 rounds, which I don't think 11 and 12 should, and that's a matter of opinion, and I hate quarterbacks, so terrible opinion. But you got to look for them later on. So you're going to be in that range down there. What we got? We know Sutz. We know what you're taking first overall, as long as he's there. We won't go further into it because we know who you're taking first.
Yeah.
If he's there, and I think he will be there. Again, Alex's wild card in my situation here because I don't know him. But unless Berman does something crazy and doesn't take Saquon Barkley.
So that's the thing.
And I've seen him do crazy stuff before.
That's the thing with Berman. He has done crazy stuff before. But before we jump into this even more, Alex missed introductions earlier. So, Alex, can you just tell the people at home who you are, how long you've been doing fantasy football, and
I need a refill while you do this.
Go for it.
Yeah, sure.
Grab me 1 too, Pat.
So I'm Alex. I've met a few of you before. Merrill, I know we've Skyped before. Sorgenti, I know we've met in person before. Obviously, I've met Tim. I'm from New York originally. I'm currently living in Charlotte and about to move back to New York. That's my exciting news of the summer. I've been playing fantasy, I don't know, somewhere around 10, 12 years maybe, but only recently got into Dynasty, maybe 2 years ago with Tim in another league. And this summer, I just drafted into my first startup Superflex. So I have very limited experience with Superflex, not even a full off season yet. So this will be a new experience for me, for sure. Looking forward to it.
Did you just say you had a draft before I got to schedule one? Because that never happens in real life. You've already drafted a team? Someone beat me? Oh, you guys wait till next year. Wait. We're drafting in March. NFL draft, our draft.
You tried doing that in our season.
We did try that one. It doesn't work well. So first Superflex. Now, that's a regular Superflex, not a Dynasty, or
it is Dynasty.
It's Dynasty. So, out of curiosity, who went first overall?
I think it was Mahomes. I can double check real quick.
Take your word for that.
I know in that one was, I think, like 8 of the first round were quarterbacks.
See, and that's a very high number.
Right.
It's too high for my liking, and not even as a quarterback hater. I think there's maybe 5 that should go in the first round. And again, when you start taking quarterbacks off the board, and if you do redraft leagues, the best thing I can show you is that first person who takes a defense, 5 defenses go in the next 10 picks. Because you see it and you go, I don't have a defense yet. What if all the good ones go? And you grab it. So when you're doing this and you see quarterback 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, depends where CMC goes. And then you start seeing quarterback 4 fall. And then you see quarterback 5 fall. And you see quarterback 6 fall. And you're like, but what if I don't get one? And you do start to feel that. The fantasy advice that I've given all the time is that you can only play 2 of them. And normally it's you can only play 1 of them. But you can only play 2 of them. So if someone drafts 3 or 4, they're doing it to have a backup. They're also doing it to make a trade. They're not doing it to sit there and hoard 4 quarterbacks. It doesn't do them any good. You still have to fill out the rest of your lineup. And there will be some teams that have 3 or 4 quarterbacks. And if you're someone who doesn't get one early, if you're in that 11, 12 spot where you don't get one and you get 2 wide receivers or 2 running backs, get ready to make a move early. Don't sit around and wait on it. Give it 2 weeks for everyone to accumulate some fantasy points to prove that your running back was drafted at 11 because he's the second best running back in the thing. Give Nick Chubb his chance, or whoever you pick. Give A.J. Brown his chance to put up a 30, 40-point game. And then go get someone using your other players. You have to find trades with other people. Your drafted team in this should not sit there for a full year unless you're a psychic and you picked every pick perfectly. Right. And you won't. No one will.
Yeah, so the one team where I started out in Cash's league, our friend Pat Cash, I know my first 2 picks off the top of my head because neither one of them are fantasy relevant now. One of them can't even find a team to play for. My first overall pick in that league at the time it made sense was Des Bryant. My second overall pick was a young and up-and-coming receiver for the Minnesota Vikings by the name of Cordero Patterson. See, that's the thing what Pat was talking about earlier. When you reach for a guy because they're young, that's what I did in the second round. It made sense because he was young. He had promise to him. But that set me back tremendously. So then through trades and waiver wire additions and stuff like that, I was able to move my way back up. And like I said, I've been in the championship back-to-back years in that league now.
Yeah, and then my team's the exact opposite, where I was all older players. I won the championship, and then all my team got really old, really injured, and I dropped to last for 3 years, and I've been rebuilding since then.
That's when your first draft will be one of the 2. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's just – and then you add in a factor that you've never done before on top of a league that you've never done before. And the first draft's going to be rough for a lot of people. And the most important thing is going to be everyone's willingness to try to improve their team, which is why we wanted to try to get people who were engaged in this, which is why we wanted to make the entry something that wasn't over dramatic, that would make people really stick to their thing and think they were the best in the world. And I think that's, you got to see moves, especially in a Superflex Dynasty League. There's going to be trades early and often. And when you get one from Berman early and often, just hit decline.
Yeah, even if it looks like it makes sense, it doesn't make sense.
Even if you think this trade might be good.
Yeah, it's not.
Don't hit the button because something bad's going to happen.
Yeah,
I just traded in our baseball league. I just traded for Chris Bryant, and I was like, "Yeah, I got Chris Bryant." And then Chris Bryant's hurt today, and I'm like, "You're kidding me." I was like, I finally talked him into a trade, and now Chris Bryant's not playing because he hurt his hamstring. I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." Did Berman like talk to Chris Bryant before he made the trade? Like he calls these players up. He's like, "Hey, how you feeling this week?" Like, "Oh, perfect. Pat, you want to make a trade?" I'll totally take that guy. He's on IR for the rest of the year. Awesome.
I was a little surprised by that trade, but it's fair.
So, Pat, you said Alex is your wild card in this league?
He is.
Okay, the best way I could describe how Alex plays fantasy football is he plays it like I do. We have a lot of similarities between the two of us, and I'm not tuning my own horn here, but Alex I consider my protege because I'm the one that got him into fantasy football, so he has a lot of my mindset behind him with it because, like, I bounce stuff off of him, he bounces stuff off of me like I do with you also, so he has a very similar to me. We don't agree on everything, but he's going to be aggressive like I am.
So get ready to see Dak Prescott go at 5 is what I just heard out loud in people. I don't know if that was said out loud, but
that's not who I think he takes at 5.
You don't think he reaches for Lamar, do you?
Taking Tom Brady.
No, I honestly think he takes Dalvin. I honestly think he takes Dalvin Cook at 5. But
so
I don't know if I'm supposed to say or not, but
no, you don't have to say anything. That's
obviously it'll depend.
I'll be honest with you. I think you're the first person who's on the clock. And I don't mean that specifically that there's going to be this. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, Mahomes, Allen, and Kyler Murray are almost certainly going to go 1 through 4.
Just in some
and
order.
I think that puts you in some order. I don't think there's going to be any drastic surprise. I think you're the first person on the clock.
Yeah.
You're not in the whoever fell to me range. Like I said with Merrill earlier, those top 4 picks are almost set. You just don't know what order they're going to fall in. Whichever one of those 4 players is sitting there at number 1, when you're up at number 4, you hit the draft button, there's your guy. You have what I call the second tier range. You have Dalvin Cook. I would rule out Saquon Barkley just because he's up and down for me. The Giants are up and down. They still don't have an offensive line. I don't care what anyone says. He gets lower even based off of the rankings. And I know sometimes that comes back to hurt me, but it is what it is, and it's not going to change. Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Dak Prescott. They're all right there. So in your place, I really feel like you're the first person on the clock. There's young players that are running backs, and there are fantasy football players that are quarterbacks. Dalvin and Lamar Jackson are those 2 that are fantasy quarterback relevant no matter what their team does. Their team could go 2-15 this year. They're going to be top 5 in quarterbacks. And then you got Dalvin, Taylor, and Kamara at that running back tier. And for me, in a PPR league, they're all thrown together. And it becomes a thing of personal preference. And for me in first rounds, especially late in first rounds, you get a lot of personal preference. Which player do you like? What offense do you prefer? What do you think is going to happen? You don't get a lot of rankings because the rankings are all, these guys are separated by 2 points. Go get them. That's not going to make a decision. The top 4 are set, and then you're on the clock. And that determines what happens next. I think Saquon will still be there if Berman wants him. But you could see Berman go Taylor. You could see a lot of different things happen.
You could see Berman taking Lamar or Dak too.
You could see exactly. So number 5 is on the clock.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Unless Merrill goes crazy and really wants Kamara back in the league because he gave him to Tim, and then watched him score 68 in fantasy points in that week, and that's stupid. Anywho, did I get off track? Maybe.
It's not a podcast episode if we don't poke fun at the Kamara trade. Okay, it's not an episode.
Maybe he wants Kamara back so we could trade him again.
I did say for the record that I do make bad trades, but I try to recover from them. So you're in full right to doing that, but still, screw you.
You are a master of recovering from them because you are the one who traded away Le'Veon Bell in his prime too. So you've given away some prime running backs.
What was that trade
for Adrian Peterson?
That was Peterson for Bell. That's right.
Straight up. I was straight
up. First year doing fantasy. I don't know shit, so give me a break.
He also drafted Chris Davis first overall in a Dynasty Baseball League. Let's not talk about that, though.
Are we done with that? I'm willing to leave. We're going to keep this up.
So if we,
I'll leave if I'm going to listen to this all day.
How fun would it be? So 5's on the clock. But let's say, for example, you don't take a quarterback there. You take Dalvin. And I'll take Tim's word on this, and it doesn't really matter because, like I said, all 5 of them are thrown together. you're another one of those people who falls into in your second pick. I think you're still a best available guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets rough. And I've said it. Anyone who doesn't have a quarterback after the first 2 rounds, it's going to be a little complicated to recover from.
Right.
Now, when you come back around in that 3rd round, it's got to be a quarterback. It's almost I think it's got to be a quarterback, and I hate quarterbacks. I think there's no chance that you can't take a quarterback there. If you were sitting there at pick, what the hell number is that? God almighty. There's too many maths for me. 5, 19, 24, 20, 30?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
30th. Let's call it 30th. Whatever. Someone will correct me on YouTube. That's all you got to do is say the wrong number on YouTube and you get corrected. Maybe we'll get some comments on our stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting at 30th-ish, what quarterback are you hoping is still there?
Man.
And we will hit the button again.
Excuse me.
And I will. Nice. Well done.
Sorry, I started drinking some whiskey to join you guys. So
you got to do it. It's draft talk time. So this is
somewhere around 30
where we're in, and I'm thinking it's again. I forgot how to do math, so spare me. So if you look at, I think Joe Burrow will be gone 2nd round. I think someone will reach for him. Trevor Lawrence, you're going to be very questionable. Depends on who's got a QB1 already. And a lot of the top teams will. So a lot of those top teams might be looking for something that's not a QB. I don't know how many people want to grab their top 2 in the first 3 rounds. You're going to want to grab 1, but you might wait for that 2nd one and then maybe a 3rd one later on. The fact that Trey Lance is sitting here at 39th is just blowing my mind. I haven't really looked at this list. I won't lie to you guys. When I Googled Zach Wilson to find him at 69th, that was a shock for me. I haven't looked over this yet because we didn't have a draft order, so I didn't want to. I didn't want to get in my own head before I even had a number that I was.
Gotcha.
I think he's way too high. But this is where you are. So if you have Aaron Rodgers, let's just do a what if. And you have Aaron Rodgers, Trey Lance, and Deshaun.
Yep, throw him in there. That's a good name to throw. No, that's a good name to throw in this. That's
I know.
A tricky person in this.
I love having that name, the QB12. I mean, that's I think that's a solid ranking for him. I think that's not a bad place to rank him. And Tannehill right there. So, and again, QB rankings are all. I don't care what any ranking system says; they're subjective.
Yep.
No one's ranking Trey Lance at QB 11 to draft him in this league. I hope we're not drafting Trey Lance as your QB 1. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to start. I don't care what you say. It's just they're not going to play him week 1. So you're not drafting him as your QB 1. So he's going to drop a little bit. What are you, Justin Fields? I mean, that's where you're falling. Those are the rankings. And these are based off of, again, Dynasty Superflex. So they are giving a little bit more emphasis to quarterbacks who will have a future versus quarterbacks that will not have that much of a future. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Tim. So if you're sitting here and this is what you have, and that means you don't pick again for pick 50-something. Again, I'm not doing this.
Just doing all the math.
Whatever the math is.
Doing all
it's over there. So there's 20-something picks in there. Who cares? I need more whiskey. Hold on. Get some juice.
Yep, there you go.
So if this is here, I should rephrase my question because my question sucked after I looked at these rankings. Are you going to grab best available or are you going to reach for a quarterback?
So we're assuming I didn't take one in the first or second round.
Yep.
We're assuming you didn't take one in the first round, and then based off of where you were landing in the second round, we assumed it didn't make sense because where you land in the first round is Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry, Calvin Ridley. Do you take Russell Wilson? Maybe. Najee Harris probably could move up a little bit higher. So maybe Joe Burrow is the pick you get. But let's just say you did best available second round also. And you're sitting there and you're sitting here and you're looking at this, and this is the way it went, which it won't happen this way. It's never going to happen. You can mock draft all day long. It's never going to work out that way. Someone's going to do something dumb at 12, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
We do have a baseball player at 12.
We have our league's taco at 11, so who knows who he's going to pick.
Things are going to happen. But if you're sitting in a range where the best available quarterbacks are all rookies, and Deshaun Watson.
And Aaron Rodgers.
Some of who may not even start. And Aaron Rodgers, who wants to be Tom Brady, but probably has about 2-3 years left in him. And you don't even know what team he's going to be playing him on. Because, yeah, he restructured his deal, but did he restructure his deal to get traded from the Packers at the end of the year, or did he restructure it to play with the Packers at the end of the year? We don't know.
I think
because Aaron Rodgers was hosting Jeopardy 2 months ago, so we don't know what he's doing.
He's playing for the year for Green Bay, obviously, and then
he's playing for, and that's a thing. Now, see, this is the thing with Dynasty. He's playing for the year. He is guaranteed to put up fantasy points as the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers this year.
And good fantasy
points.
Are
you sacrificing your 3rd-round pick in a Dynasty Superflex League on a quarterback with 1 guaranteed year?
Oh, so that's definitely a tough one. I mean, other quarterbacks there, I don't know that I'd put, my 3rd round into Trey Lance maybe, but then
that's
below that is Deshaun Watson or Justin Fields.
Right. So if you go after like a Deshaun Watson, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance, all those guys projected right now are probably going to start playing at the same time during the season. Watson's going to get suspended if he gets taken off the commissioner's exempt list. He's going to get suspended for the beginning of the year. Trey Lance ain't going to start at the beginning of the year. Justin Fields isn't going to start at the beginning of the year. So your QB1 off the board now is not starting for at least 4 weeks.
Right.
So now you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball to start off the first season. So it's the way I look at it is are you drafting now to compete this year, or are you drafting for the future?
So, yeah, I see there Pat highlighted Tannehill. I definitely like Tannehill. He's still – he's not
reach.
Young.
That is a reach.
Younger than Rodgers. It's a reach.
Yes. And, again, fantasy drafts are about building your team. So reaches happen because sometimes you got to fill a spot.
Sure.
And sometimes you got to fill a spot before there's no one left to fill it. So you got to take the best person at your spot. So – if you didn't grab a quarterback, is it best available? And there's some solid names sitting here.
Yep. Darren Waller's intriguing there too.
Darren Waller.
Very
looking at that.
That's very intriguing, especially if he goes running back, wide receiver to start. Grab yourself the Walrus there.
Looking at this list, and this is the biggest thing about developing a draft strategy. You got to know what's coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people sit there and look at their they're up in 5 picks. They look at the next 6 players on the board and they go, hope this guy's still here. But they don't look any further than that. And some people scroll through the entire list, use their minute and a half, and end up at pick number 87 in the 3rd round. And you're like, what the hell are you doing? So if you have to pick and you didn't pick a quarterback yet, I personally think you're still at best available. And that's just looking at the quarterbacks that are sitting in that spot. And you have to assume that quarterbacks behind this are going to go. Because, as we said, we think every team, or almost every team, is going to have a quarterback by the end of the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
So you're ruling out 10. I'll go at the low end, probably 10 quarterbacks. And QB 10 is Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So you're going to move some of these players up the list. You're going to take players that people don't really like and move them down the list.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're sitting here and your best available quarterback is Deshaun Watson, you don't have a quarterback yet. Deshaun Watson's the biggest question mark in the NFL. He's a bigger question mark than rookies are right now. You have absolutely no clue. I mean, Darren Waller jumps off the page.
Yep.
Darren Waller scores points like there's no tomorrow. And your flex spots hold tight ends. Your tight end spot holds tight ends. It becomes a best available player still. And the only reason I brought this up is because there are a lot of people who are going to watch this. No, there's not. There's like 8 of us. But there's 8 people who are going to watch this who are going to draft next week. And it's not always about grabbing that quarterback first because it's a Superflex league. It's a Dynasty league. You got to have them. You don't have to have anything. You can make your team however the hell you want. And sometimes that means sacrificing the most important position. Sometimes you got to throw your queen to the wolves to save the board. And
well said.
You're going to play 2 quarterbacks. But you still got to have the right quarterbacks.
Yep.
Don't go reach for a guy at 70 because you don't have one yet. Sometimes you're going to lose that guy. And sometimes, oh no, I don't have Matthew Stafford. And you have to start Ryan Fitzpatrick. And that's fine.
I don't see
because we draft again next year.
I don't see a problem with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Draft again every year.
I might take that.
Yeah, I might take Ryan Fitzpatrick.
All I say that for is that where is he?
Oh, he's
219th.
Yeah. Well, I get it.
Well, I'm not saying that it's because, and that's my point. It's not a ranking thing.
Mm-hmm.
If Ryan Fitzpatrick was starting for you on the Washington football team with several receiving options, a very good defense, and a very solid running game, that's not bad.
Nope.
He protects the ball well. He's got good football IQ. He does his things right. He puts up fantasy points. Are they the greatest fantasy points? No, but he's going to score them. So waiting till you get to the bottom of the list for your quarterback 1, maybe not the greatest thing.
Nope.
But you don't have to start reaching super early. You can take the best available player. You can build your team, but you have to be aware of what you don't have.
Right. Like if I'm at where Alex is at and we get to this area here, I'm drafting best player available, but I will guarantee you that when I take my quarterback 1, within the next 2 rounds, I'm drafting that quarterback 2 to make sure I get a high floor.
Sure.
For my Superflex position. If I'm drafting Matthew Stafford as my quarterback 1, you bet I'm going to draft another quarterback in that range within the next 2 rounds by my next pick or the pick after that because I want that floor because I'm waiting and I'm taking all these good players. So if I'm getting 16 points a week out of my quarterback and out of my Superflex, that's great because I'm getting my 20 points out of my Dalvin Cook. I'm getting my 20 points out of my Calvin Ridley. I'm getting my 20 points out of my Darren Waller. I'm good. So I need to keep that floor at the quarterback position to keep me consistent. So that's what I would be doing in that scenario.
And that is where your QB2 is almost more important than your QB1.
Yep.
Your QB1 is going to be a QB ranked in the top 16, let's call it.
Because you're going to have that one person that drafts 2 quarterbacks.
Some people are going to do it. Someone's going to do it. And then someone else is going to follow it because someone else did it.
Yep.
So your QB1 is going to be in the top 16. And the top 16, if you rule out Trey Lance from being in the top 16, and you rule out Justin Fields from being in the top 16 of this year.
What's up, Sutz?
Say Jalen Hurts.
The top quarterbacks, will you put them up there?
Top QBs? You can sort by QB.
I can do this, but this kind of works. It's not the Superflex rankings for them, but it's the QB rankings, and
which would be the same for.
They're the same thing.
Yeah,
they are the same thing. Just want to make sure they're the exact same.
Yeah.
So there's your QB rankings, right there, because they use the same league parameters that we already have set up.
What are the stars?
Trey Lance. Where? That's their strength of schedule this season.
Okay.
So it's the more stars you get, the easier your schedule is this year, based off of last year's defensive rankings of the team that you're facing.
So Russell Wilson screwed is what I'm getting at.
Russell Wilson screwed anyway. Have you seen his offensive line? No, neither has Russell Wilson. Anyway. It's the best joke I had today.
They could sign Tim Tebow. I heard he's good at blocking.
It's probably as good as the rest of their offensive line. They had a video of Russell Wilson's son getting handed a football because it was his first steps, and I was like, and he's already scored a touchdown on the Seattle's defense. Fantastic. So the top 16, take Trey Lance and Justin Fields and move them back just for the sake of the fact that they're not going to start.
Baker Mayfield's intriguing for me. Just throwing it out
top
there.
16, throwing Baker Mayfield in there and throwing 2 and Zach Wilson into this top mix. At least Zach Wilson starting week 1.
He's going to get points week in and week out.
There's your top 16 guys. Your QB1 needs to fall in that list. Let's be honest with each other. If it doesn't, you better have a snake pick to pick 2 people real quick. And even then, they suck. So your QB2 is coming from down here where Tom Brady sits.
And Sam
awesome
Darnold
for this year. Sam Darnold maybe has a great year.
Who knows? He has a great set of weapons in Carolina. So if he doesn't play well, it's definitely him.
What you're looking at down here are mainly 1-year guaranteed players. And by that, I mean Jimmy Garoppolo's getting replaced. Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, who knows what they are. Ben Roethlisberger, he could retire tomorrow for all we know. Ryan Fitzpatrick is 38 years old. His beard is longer than his playing career. So Cam Newton, he's going to be replaced mid-year. Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, we don't even know who's starting. Probably Jameis Winston. Well, that's because they rank them based off of them being the same person.
Once they name the starter, they jump.
Here. Once they name a starter, one will drop completely and one will stay at that rank. That's the ranking of the Denver quarterback. That's the ranking of the New Orleans quarterback. That's where they figure they fit in. And then as soon as you get a starter, one will fall off the face of the earth and the other one will stay there. But you don't have guaranteed stats down here. So there's your QB2, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Okay. There's nothing here.
Oh, Mitchell.
There's Andy Dalton who's going to start. So if you draft Justin Fields in his ADP, where he is right now, at some point in your draft, you got to make time to go get Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Because then you have the Bears starting quarterback. Is Andy Dalton great? No. But you drafted Justin Fields.
Same thing if you draft Trey Lance. You got to get
one's starting.
You got to get Jimmy G if you draft Trey Lance.
You got to go get Jimmy G.
Which means now you're behind the 8 ball even more because you're wasting a pick on a quarterback that's only going to play 4 games and a quarterback that's only going to play 12 or 13 games. So now you're drafting a third quarterback who's going to be who the hell knows at that point. Yeah, it's going to be stream of the week for your Superflex.
So, but that, yes, it sucks. But if you feel strongly, Matt Berman, about Justin Fields, and you draft Justin Fields at his ADP, like you're probably going to, even though you shouldn't, in the second round, and you pick on the come around at 6, and you take Justin Fields right there because you think you got the lock of the year, which I know you do. And he's probably not going to watch, but he knows it. Make sure you go get Andy Dalton because he's going to start the season. So make some time in your draft later on and give up a player to go get Andy Dalton. The convenient part about this is we have a very small team. We only run 9 players right now. We started it short for a reason. We have a large bench. Go get Andy Dalton.
Now, can I go get Andy Dalton, and what kind of trade value can I use it against him?
Have you seen Andy Dalton play?
Sutz, I would give you a 5th-round pick for the following year for Andy Dalton. That's the most I'd give you.
Yeah.
And I would decline it for being completely overrated.
I would take that.
So, and that's the thing. Andy Dalton is only pickable if you have no quarterback or if you drafted Justin Fields. If you're looking at your board and you think you're going to pick Andy Dalton, please don't. Go get someone else. Go get anyone. Go pick Jacoby Brissett. He's got a chance of running in a 2-point conversion and outscoring Andy Dalton. Mm-hmm. There's a chance. I've seen him do it. So,
also Tyrod Taylor's sitting there, Tyrod Taylor's sitting there at 44.
Well, again, and this is what you're looking at. You're looking at Houston's backup being ranked as Houston's backup, assuming that they already have a starter in Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Do they? No.
Oh, no.
So if Deshaun Watson gets suspended tomorrow, this spot right here is going to end up in these lower 30s. It's not going to go up that far. They're not that good.
Well, they also don't have an amazing repertoire of receivers to throw the football to.
Correct. We did our thing about Davis Mills when we did our first podcast.
I'm a big fan. I love Davis
So
Mills.
We have our feelings about him. So is that someone you grab at the end of the draft? Maybe. But look at these people. You're not picking down here. So when you get that second quarterback, he's more important than your first quarterback because your quarterbacks fall off very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have an opportunity to get a quarterback in the top 16. Whether you pass on that or take it is going to be your choice. You're going to have an opportunity to get a top 16 quarterback as your number one. Make your choice to get your second quarterback kind of quickly.
Yep. Like if I can get myself a Matthew Stafford and then get myself Carson Wentz as my QB2, I'd be okay. I wouldn't be ecstatic about that combination, but I wouldn't be mad. I think Carson Wentz is a above average quarterback. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's terrible. He's going to put up points. He's got good weapons in Indy. They have a fantastic offensive line. Something he's never had in his career has been a fantastic offensive line. And Indy has the cream of the crop. So if I think Carson Wentz is ranked a little low. Like I think he's better than I think he's better than Tua. I don't like Tua at all. But I would put.
I think his injury history has to come into play with his ranking. I think if he wasn't so injury prone, he'd probably be ranked a lot higher. But the fact that no one knows if he's making it through 6 games, it's kind of hard to give him a higher ranking.
Yeah, no, I believe me, I agree on that completely. But as my quarterback too, I take the risk on Carson Wentz. Because if you hit on Carson Wentz,
I would agree with you.
If you hit on Carson Wentz and Carson Wentz comes anywhere close to his MVP type season, you got a bargain and a half.
Yeah, like I said, I don't disagree. I was just saying that's probably the reason why ranking is a lot lower than it, maybe could be.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I'm never
drafting
Tua.
Look at his last season. That's a whole different thing. Where you move Tua down as low as you can go.
I put him behind Davis. I would draft Davis Mills before Tua Tagovailoa. However you say his last name.
At least Tua's going to start this year.
I don't care. I don't think Tua's
There's
good.
Some fantasy points coming in there.
I draft Jared Goff.
Some are better than none.
Jared Goff with his no receivers in Detroit before Tua.
Hey, he's got Marvin Jones Jr. doesn't he?
No, Marvin Jones Jr. is in
Marvin
Jacksonville.
Jones got traded Jacksonville. Never mind.
They don't even have him.
Well, he's got
Quintez Cephas
is in New York.
Zach Wilson or
I'm just curious where the first Detroit.
Zach Wilson. I'm a Jets. I'm a homer.
Zach Wilson easily.
Yeah.
The first Detroit wide receiver is ranked 61st.
Yeah. I've been hearing good things about this kid at camp though.
Number 2 is 87.
Yeah. Rashad Perry.
There's Quintez Cephas, 103.
Where's Tyrell Williams? There he is.
There you go, 124. And then Sage Surratt at 132. So yeah, there's no weapons there.
Wow. Yeah, he got.
There is Hawkinson.
That's true.
Yeah,
and you also have DeAndre Swift, who's a very good receiver, and Jamal.
And you
Williams.
have Jamal Williams now. So you do have running back. There are receivers that aren't receivers. Let's be honest. There is more to it than just the wide receiver position. But how many times have you seen a quarterback or a team succeed when they have no wide receivers?
Not very often.
If your safety can key off on your tight end every single play because there's no chance in hell that your wide receiver beats him, you got to be Travis Kelce. Kels? I don't know how to pronounce his name anymore.
It's Kels now.
You got to be him. You got to be
Darren Waller. George Kittle.
Yeah, you got it.
That's it.
You got to be George Kittle to beat triple coverage, which is what you're going to get when your top receiver is St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I like St. Brown. St. Brown made my rankings. But this is the thing about wide receivers is they go on and on and on and on, and then they just stop.
Yeah, it's like so.
About here.
The thing with St. Brown is he's ranked. What number did you say he's ranked at?
60
61.
Yeah. 61.
61. At number 60, the person right before him, Sutz and Alex know this because we're Jets fans. That's Denzel Mims, the second-round pick for the Jets last year. You want to know what he's been running with? He's been running with the 3s.
Very disappointing.
So you have the number 1 receiver on the board for Detroit being picked after a guy who's running with the 3s on the Jets.
Look at who's right after him.
Kadarius Toney. Yeah,
he's not going to start. He's not going to play.
I don't understand that pick.
There's 5 wide receivers on the depth chart before him. You got Christian Kirk, who had like 3 catches for 185 yards because all he did was catch 99-yard touchdown passes last year.
That's impressive.
Don't tell me. That's fair. You got Jamison Crowder, who's like a PPR machine though, so he gets it gets kind of murky down here. You got Antonio Brown, who's just in a stacked wide receiver core and a stacked team overall.
Jamison Crowder, if he doesn't get cut for cap room.
He's not going to get cut for cap room right now.
So when you look at this is not where you want your wide receiver 1 to be.
No.
Devontae Parker is just he's falling apart. I'd let all due respect to Devontae Parker, but he's got Tua throwing the ball. There's 4 other wide receivers there.
They signed Will Fuller.
I know that. I know the name pops off the sheet at you, but once Will Fuller gets hurt in week 4, Devontae Parker might have a role again. But Tua still have to get him the ball, and we saw last year he couldn't do that. So that's where Henry Ruggs, that's terrible range. So again, when you look at a Jared Goff, you have to make sure that TJ Hawkinson is going to be the player he was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
That he's the top 5 tight end that everyone's claiming he is.
And he's shown the flashes of it. He's shown the flashes of it.
Flashes aren't consistency.
Well,
if you watch Jared Goff for longer than a week,
Ebron
you better have something consistent because he can't do it if you're not. And Jared Goff found 3 players that he really loved, and they scored 355 fantasy points every week.
Yep.
Tyler Higbee, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp could not be stopped. That one year that Todd Gurley was iffy, the 3 of them put up 100 fantasy points every week, and that's not an exaggeration.
Because that's all they did was through the football.
The 2 of them were wide receiver 1s, and Tyler Higbee was a tight end 1, almost overall, for 5 straight weeks.
Yep, and
So it's all about what are you looking for, and Jared Goff. If that's where your QB2 is, be careful.
I was just making a joke, Pat.
I get the point. It makes sense though, and then you have what I feel is your shortest position.
Oh, it's always the shortest position in a
Welcome
draft.
to running back world.
Right. If you so that's
where you have
that's the intrigue of taking Christian McCaffrey in the top 5. That's why people want to take him because this position is just so shallow.
And that's why when you look at the top, I'll even say 12. And I know I might be going too far because there's some wide receiver that might hop in. Your first round picks are all going to be running backs and quarterbacks.
They should be.
And the reason for that isn't necessarily that all those running backs are going to put up all those amount of points. It's that there's
Myles Gaskin.
Not a lot.
Let's call it 35 of them.
Oh.
And let's be nice about that.
Because you got A.J. Dillon sitting there at 32.
You got
Zach Moss.
You got Mike Davis, who still might be something. You got Darrell Henderson, who's going to move up because Cam Akers is injured. So move Cam Akers down out of 22, at least for this year. Move Cam Akers down. You're not going to pick him at running back 22 because you're losing an entire year. And he's got to come off an injury next year. Mm-hmm. So he's going to move down.
A very significant.
Henderson will move up. Mike Davis is probably going to be a starter, so move him up a little bit. But that's it. Don't look down here. You better find a miracle in David Johnson to get into the end zone every week. Backups, big backups, handcuffs. That's cool. Handcuff here's where you handcuff your guy. Mm-hmm. If you pick the guy, handcuff the guy.
Yeah.
And there's my other piece of fantasy. But if you pick a running back 1, that's not Saquon Barkley, and I'll get into that in a second, better handcuff him. If you pick Jonathan Taylor really early, go grab Nyheim Hines. If you pick Dalvin Cook early, go grab Alexander Madison. If you pick Miles Sanders in the top 2 rounds, go get Kenneth Gainwell.
Mm-hmm.
If you pick Saquon Barkley, good luck. There's no backup.
Devontae Booker.
Backup.
Devontae Booker.
Get Pollard for Elliott.
Pollard's going to be going
through this and smack you.
Yeah, the thing with Pollard is he's going before where I'm comfortable taking a backup, a handcuff. Because he does have somewhat standalone value. If he starts falling, then if I have Zeke, I'm going to take Tony Pollard.
If you have Zeke, and that's similar to what I said earlier. If you have a guy that you drafted a lot of capital with, a first, second round guy, you're not backing him up with his backup. You're taking a hell of a chance. And in a redraft league, oh well, he's probably going to fall to waivers. So, hope you're the number one waiver.
Yep.
Hope you can go get them. This is a dynasty league. These players are going. Nyheim Hines has standalone value with his catching alone. So if you are on a bye week and you need to throw Nyheim Hines in to have 1 week of PPR and kick returning and hope for the best, you can do that.
Yep.
Kenny Gable has no value right now, but that's because we haven't seen him play. So
there are rumors out of Phillies camp that he is taking over the Boston Scott role on that team, which was the third down back in certain situations. So he might have some PPR value.
And then look what happened with Boston Scott once there was an injury. Bam, 40 points a week. So there's going to be value. It's like Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray was always drafted, and Latavius Murray was a backup to Alvin Kamara, but he was drafted. Not by the guy who had Alvin Kamara. He was drafted. He sat on a bench because you have 7 bench spots, and he sat in one of them, and you hoped. And if you needed someone for a bye week, you threw him in, and
he got you 8
maybe
points.
he got 2 touches for a touchdown, and he did that. So there are backups that get drafted. A.J. Dillon is going to get drafted, not as a backup. A.J. Dillon's going to get drafted because he has standalone ability.
He's going to get
and
that
if
goal
you
line,
have – exactly. If you have Aaron Jones, you're going to want A.J. Dillon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, it's very – but if you draft in the first round a running back that isn't Saquon Barkley, because I don't care what you say, Devontae Booker's not going to do anything. We saw what happened with all of Saquon's backups for 2 years. Nothing. If you draft any running back in the first round, go get their backup. And go get their backup before someone else has them sitting on their bench because they'll go get them. And the reason with that is there is injury history in that top list.
Yep. Like if you draft Christian McCaffrey, go get Chuba.
Yeah.
Go get Chuba Hubbard. The kid's a rookie. He's a monster. He's gonna fill in that Christian McCaffrey mold perfectly if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. That's why they drafted him.
Mike Davis did last year, and they were comfortable with letting him go because they knew they were going to draft a replacement.
And they drafted a nice version.
CMC is heavily leaned on, and that's not going to change because you can't change your whole offense when one player goes down.
Especially with the
you just have to hope your backup steps up. So, if you're drafting a quarterback early, you're not getting a backup. You're going to just go try to find a QB2. But if you're drafting a running back in the first round, find your time to get his handcuff.
Yep. All right. While I got a minute to interject here, we're almost at 1 hour and 40 minutes. So I think this is a good part to leave us off for this episode. You guys got anything you want to say before we head out?
Good.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining this on this episode. We'll try to do more episodes where we have more than just me and Pat talking, because it's nice to get a nice bounce back. Other opinions always help. They always matter. So this is great. I really enjoyed doing an episode like this. So I'm glad you guys were able to join us for this one. So appreciate you gentlemen taking time out of your days to help us out.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, fellas.
All right.
Tim?
So
appreciate it.
For Pat, I'm Tim Murray. For everyone else here, thank you for tuning in to episode 2. Episode 3 will be a recap of our draft, which happens next week. So we see you guys then.